You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere. This is your WCFW Daily News Roundup for 105.7 CFW in Chippewa Falls and 93.5 The Tap in Eau Claire.
For WCFW News, I'm James Kelly. The Chippewa Falls City Council approved an ordinance change on Tuesday night, clearing the way for Hope Village to create more affordable housing options. The nonprofit plans to turn the Indian Head Motel into single-occupancy apartments after receiving the special use permit needed to go forward with the project. The permit also requires them to build a management office of the site of the project. The move comes as officials across the Chippewa Valley look to address their lack of affordable housing stock amid growing homelessness. Eau Claire transit officials say they're making major plans this year after a significant increase in public transit use last year. Officials say they saw an increase of about 50,000 riders in 2024, which they credited to things like increased bus service at peak times near the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. They've dubbed 2025 as the year of transit and are planning a new on-demand rideshare service similar to Lyft or Uber at a cheaper cost. The service is expected to launch on July 1st and will only serve the north side of the city in the first year. The Polk County Environmental Services Committee will meet again tonight to discuss potential updates to the Code of Ordinances. The committee began examining the Department of Natural Resources and other state standards for ordinance requirements in January and intends to update the county codes to create greater alignment with those standards. The committee plans to have another meeting on potential changes on February 19th and hold a public hearing in March. Public input can be submitted at the meetings or online. The Wisconsin Department of Transportation is providing guidance on merging for drivers to recognize the February Law of the Month. According to a DOT press release, drivers should remember to give themselves plenty of space to merge onto highways, especially when merging near a large truck, commercial vehicle, or bus. Drivers merging for a lane closure should take turns with other drivers in a zipper fashion, as well as yielding in roundabouts as they look to enter and staying in the same lane until they're ready to signal their exit. The two candidates for April's Wisconsin Supreme Court election are sparring over a television ad this week. Liberal Dane County Circuit Court Judge Susan Crawford is accusing conservative Waukesha County Circuit Court Judge Brad Schimmel of doctoring an image of her in a new television ad, violating a new state law that requires the disclosure of artificial intelligence being used in video or audio advertisements. A spokesperson for Schimmel's campaign told the Associated Press that the image was edited but not created by AI. A new study finds that car insurance rates will increase in Wisconsin this year, but not as much as in previous years or in other states. The study was conducted by the insurance agency Insurify, which says car insurance rates in Wisconsin are expected to increase by about 3% this year. The expected increase is significantly lower than last year's increase of 22%, and the average cost of car insurance in the state is expected to be about $700 lower than the national average. Only 11 states are predicted to have cheaper rates. The Chippewa-Eau Claire Metropolitan Planning Organization is looking for input from the community on the current state of transportation in the region. The organization is conducting a survey of residents and plans to use the results to inform their long-term plans for the transportation sector. They will also host 3 open houses in Altoona, Eau Claire, and Chippewa Falls in early March. The survey will be available to residents until March 23rd and can be taken on the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission website. The West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission has announced plans to establish a business revolving loan fund in the region. The organization has matched a $250,000 grant from the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, making a total of $500,000 available through the fund. The Capital Catalyst Revolving Loan Fund will offer loans from $10,000 to $250,000 for local businesses in Barron, Chippewa, Clark, Dunn, Eau Claire, Polk, and St. Croix counties. The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources is inviting residents to apply to their seasonal staff positions at state parks, forests, trails, and recreation areas. According to a press release, the seasonal work typically begins in the spring and runs through the fall. The Department of Natural Resources is looking for seasonal workers across the state for positions like park rangers, natural resources educators, and groundskeepers. Interested residents can find more information on the seasonal postings and submit their applications online. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers has announced his budget proposal will include $145 million to address PFAS contamination. According to a press release, the proposal would fund new grant programs and expand staffing and research. It would also exempt innocent landowners from being financially responsible for cleaning PFAS pollution. The majority of the funding will come from the $125 million allocated for PFAS cleanup in the previous budget, which the Republican-controlled legislature has not released. For WCFW News, I'm James Kelly.
The Badgers rolled past Indiana. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Wisconsin with another win over the Hoosiers in Madison, 76-64. The Badgers jumping out to a 26-4 lead early in the contest. Head coach Greg Gard.
Scores that we can put on the floor from a variety of positions helps us. Defense has to make a decision who they're going to take away, and the unselfishness of this group, how it moves. I mean, you have 13 assists on 26 baskets, and Klesmet with 6 assists. That just shows me the unselfishness of this group, and that's important for a really good offense. You have to be unselfish and a willing passer, and they just want to find who's open from Wisconsin. That's their mission.
Marquette with another loss, this time on the road against St. John, 70-64. In front of 16,000 fans at Madison Square Garden. Rick Pitino turning that program around. NFL place kicker Mason Crosby announcing his retirement from football. 16 years with the Packers before brief stints with the Rams and the Giants. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Here's one of Pete's picks. It's actually more like a half pick, as I sort of enjoyed the film Amelia Perez. The musical crime drama, yes, you heard that right, has 13 Oscar nominations, including for Best Picture. The story is about a ruthless drug cartel boss who hires a lawyer, played by Zoe Saldana, to help him through the gender transitioning process and to help him disappear afterwards. The logline really grabbed me, but I thought it started slow and didn't like the look of it. It did pick up steam and provided some gripping, intense moments. Ultimately, it's a little unsatisfying in my opinion, and I tend to agree with the reviews it received on Rotten Tomatoes. The film got a 73% fresh rating from critics, which is good, but a little lower than you'd expect for a film nominated for 13 Oscars. Only 18% of audiences like the film. Having said that, it still might be worth a watch, as you don't see many musical crime thrillers where cartel bosses have sex change operations. The film is free to view on Netflix. A new reboot is on the way, which is not a surprise, as Hollywood seems determined to remake everything it's ever done. This time, it's a new iteration of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Star of the original, Sarah Michelle Gellar, will be part of the cast, but not the central focus. This is the second attempt at a reboot. One in 2018 did not quite make it to the little screen. When and if the show drops, it will premiere on Hulu. During a recent appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, actress Nicole Kidman told the host about her favorite keepsake, the handwritten lyrics to Elton John's famous song, Your Song. Kidman was one of the stars of Moulin Rouge, in which the song was featured and sang by Ewan McGregor. Your Song has been covered many times over the years. Great tune. Ted Danson and Kelsey Grammer had a feud that not many people knew about dating back to the show Cheers. On a recent episode of the Where Everybody Knows Your Name podcast, hosted by Danson and Woody Harrelson, Grammer says the feud started when Danson accused him of not always showing up ready to work. Grammer says he owned it and added that he was drinking too much back then. No fists thrown, curses exchanged, or hitting on each other's wives? That's barely a grudge. Sometimes it just takes a little convincing from someone like Steven Spielberg for an actor to take a role in a film. Actor Ke-Huy Han says he was offered the lead role as an action star in the film Love Hurts. The star of Everything All at Once and The Goonies told director Jonathan Eusebio no 3 times because he wasn't feeling it. That is until Spielberg convinced him he didn't need to look like Sylvester Stallone to be a hero. If Steve Spielberg gives you advice, probably best to take it. Love Hurts opens this weekend. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
It is going to be cloudy today with some light snow this afternoon. Light snow and freezing drizzle possible overnight tonight. We may end up with around a half inch or so of accumulation by the time it winds down. 27 today, 20 tonight, windy, partly cloudy, 27 tomorrow. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable.
Currently, it's 3 above.
That's your WCFW and the TAP Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at WCFW.FM or thetap.fm. The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.